Today, we are going to take a closer look at a Bible translation that is very influential in the modern Christian world, the New International Version of the Bible, which we often hear as NIV. Are you curious about why this translation came into being? What is unique about its translation method? And who is suitable to use it? Don't worry, today's video will answer all your questions one by one. First, let's go back to the historical starting point of NIV. The call of modern evangelical ministry is an important reason for the birth of NIV. In the 1950s, a Seattle engineer named Howard Lawn found that the widely used King James Version, KJV, was difficult for modern people to understand due to its 17th century Old English when sharing the gospel with others. He deeply felt that the church needed a Bible translation that modern people, even children, could easily understand in order to better spread the gospel. Then, in 1965, an important milestone appeared. A meeting of interdenominational evangelical scholars was held near Chicago. The scholars attending the meeting unanimously decided to start a huge translation project with the goal of creating a clear and accurate modern English Bible. This was the beginning of NIV. In order to ensure the quality and objectivity of the translation, the Committee on Bible Translation, CBT, was established, an independent organization composed of 15 evangelical Bible scholars, not controlled by any publisher or commercial entity. What is even more admirable is that this international team brought together more than 100 scholars from different countries such as the United States, Canada, the United Kingdom, Australia, New Zealand, and South Africa. They come from different Christian denominations, including Anglican, Catholic, Assemblies of God, Baptist, Reformed, Lutheran, and Presbyterian. This extensive cross-denominational cooperation has laid a solid foundation for the authority and universality of NIV. NIV's success is largely due to its unique translation philosophy. Their translation philosophy can be summarized as double fidelity, that is, to be faithful to the original Greek, Hebrew, and Aramaic texts of the Bible, and to be faithful to modern readers, using natural and fluent modern English to express the original meaning of the Bible. When the first edition of NIV came out in 1978, it pioneered a new translation method, committed to balancing the transparency of the original text, reflecting the literal meaning of the original text as much as possible, and the clarity of meaning. NIV uses the dynamic equivalence translation method, which is a method between literal translation and free translation, aiming to convey the idea and core message of the original text, rather than simply literal correspondence. Their translation goal is very clear, that is, to produce an accurate, beautiful, clear, and solemn translation, making it suitable for use in various occasions such as public and personal reading, teaching, preaching, and recitation. At the same time, they also emphasize the use of language that modern people can understand, avoid archaic words, and attach importance to the literary beauty of the original text of the Bible. The textual basis of an excellent translation is crucial. NIV's translation of the Old Testament is mainly based on the standard Hebrew text, especially the Masoretic text in the latest version of the Biblia Hebraica. At the same time, the translation team also referred to other important ancient documents, including the famous Dead Sea Scrolls, the Samaritan Pentateuch, the Greek Septuagint, etc. In the New Testament, the core basis of NIV is the eclectic text, mainly based on the latest versions of the UBS Greek New Testament and the Nestle-Aland Greek New Testament. The compilation of these eclectic texts used hundreds of Greek manuscripts dating back to the early 2nd century, striving to restore the version closest to the original. The NIV's translation of the New Testament is based primarily on the Alexandrian text type, the most important of which are 4th century capital manuscripts such as the Codex Sinaiticus and the Codex Vaticanus. The reason why NIV has gained such widespread trust is inseparable from its rigorous translation process. Each book of the Bible has undergone multiple reviews during the translation process. First, the translation team completes the first draft, and then it is carefully reviewed by a team of 5 senior Bible scholars to ensure the accuracy and consistency of the translation. Even more impressive is that NIV has set an extremely high threshold for any changes to the text. Any modification requires the support of at least 70% of the translation team members to pass. Moreover, NIV's Committee on Bible Translation, CBT, is not a one-time job. They hold regular meetings every year to continuously monitor the latest developments in biblical academic research and changes in the use of the English language so that the translation can be revised when necessary to ensure the accuracy and timeliness of the translation. Before the update of the 2011 edition, the translation team also specially commissioned the most comprehensive study of English gender language usage at the time to more properly handle gender-related vocabulary in the translation. In addition, recent archaeological and linguistic discoveries have also provided important references for the translation of NIV, helping to more accurately understand some traditionally difficult passages of Scripture. So, who are the target users? The answer is a wide range of readers. NIV's clear and easy-to-understand language is very suitable for believers to conduct personal spiritual practice. Due to its balance of accuracy and readability, dozens of evangelical denominations, churches, and seminaries have adopted NIV as their official Bible translation for preaching, study, public reading, and personal use. For new believers, NIV's modern and easy-to-understand English also lowers the reading threshold. At the same time, due to its rigorous academic foundation, NIV is also widely used in the field of academic research. In terms of market performance, NIV has been the best-selling Bible translation in the English-speaking world since the mid-1980s, and as of March 2013, its printed version has been circulated in more than 450 million copies. Of course, any translation has its strengths and limitations. The main strengths of the NIV are its excellent readability, using fluent and easy-to-understand English, and its excellent accuracy, which strikes a good balance between the two. Its scholarly foundation is solid, built on the latest biblical scholarship and a deep understanding of ancient manuscripts, and has gained wide interdenominational recognition. However, there are some caveats to the NIV, such as its tendency to sometimes paraphrase more than some more literal translations. In addition, some scholars, such as Professor Mark Given of Missouri State University, have criticized the accuracy of the NIV, arguing that it contains some inaccurate translations. In addition, the 2011 edition of the NIV has also attracted criticism from some groups such as the Committee on Biblical Masculinity and Femininity for using more gender-neutral language in its translations. Finally, let's discuss some of the controversial verses about the NIV. A common problem is that the NIV seems to be missing some verses that appear in the King James Version, KJV. In fact, these differences are mainly because the NIV is based on older, more reliable manuscripts of the Bible. For example, the passage about prayer and fasting in Matthew 17 verse 21 and the famous John's testimony in 1 John 5 verse 7 are not present in many earlier manuscripts. In Mark 16 verses 9 to 20, the NIV also puts a parenthesis and notes that these verses are not present in some early manuscripts. There has been some discussion about translations, such as the translation of mu omicron nu omicron gamma epsilon nu as one and only in John 3 verse 16 instead of the traditional only begotten, and the translation of the plural Elohim as the singular in Genesis 31 verse 53. Scholars have different views on these differences, with some arguing that the modern translation more accurately reflects the latest scholarship, while others are critical. Overall, the New International Version, NIV, is a translation that is constantly evolving. From its first edition in 1978, to a minor revision in 1984, to a major revision in 2011, the NIV has been continually refined and updated to address changes in biblical scholarship and language usage. The Translation Committee continues to conduct research, update the language, and incorporate the latest archaeological and linguistic findings. I hope today's video will help you understand the New International Version of the Bible, NIV, more deeply. No matter which translation you choose, the most important thing is to know God by reading His Word. If you like today's content, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. See you next time.